Hi everyone, this is Dr. Sivasakthivel, Faculty, Department of Environmental Science, Bangalore University. Today I am going to share my class on environmental pollution for all undergraduate students and postgraduate students and all other competitive examinations as well. Environmental pollution became a emerging subject for the all undergraduate and postgraduate because the University Grant Commission made the environmental studies as a compulsory subject because environmental science is a life science. All citizens, not only the Indian citizens, in entire world who is surviving in the earth need to understand the mother earth, what is our environment, what is the role of our environment, what we have done for the environment, either is a negative impact or positive impact. These knowledge are compulsory for all citizens of India as well as in any nations. So environmental pollution, the pollution, any substance which contaminates the natural surroundings. Environment is nothing but it's your surroundings or contaminated by any substance called as a pollutant. This pollutant may be a physical or chemical or biological, or these physical and chemical and biological elements are unwanted to the environment, which will brings the changes on our natural surroundings and affect our natural lifestyle. So the pollution is the unwanted substance or introduced into the environment which will alter our natural phenomenon of environment and the progress and has the adverse effect on our lifestyles, includes on human being as well as plants and other atmosphere, water bodies and also on soils. So what are the different types of environmental pollutions? Air pollution, where the pollutants are introduced into the air, and water pollutions, the unwanted contaminants are discharged into the water bodies, include surface water or lake, stream, pond or ocean. Similarly, the external elements are introduced on the soil called as a soil pollution, and radioactive substance are mixed in this any one of air pollution or water or soil called as a radioactive pollution, and noise accumulation of any places in residential area or industrial area, that is also called as a noise pollution, and excess of heat are released into the environment which also has the negative impact on natural component on the earth called as a thermal pollution. First let us see what is the earth atmosphere. Earth is a beautiful planet. If you look out from far from our sky, the earth is situated in habitable zones in the solar system because of the placement of the earth in particular rotations in the solar system. Earth has the different layers of atmosphere which facilitate the different components on the surface of the earth. So different layers in the atmosphere involving in different functionals in order to give the life and protect the life on the earth surface. So within this atmosphere, the unwanted elements are introduced into the atmosphere, which altering the functional and progress of natural phenomenon of the atmosphere leads to the air pollution, and this air pollution tremending into the negative impact on living organisms and non-living organisms in the earth surface. So the class today, we're going to understand the different layers of atmosphere in the earth and the different types of air pollution being introduced into the atmosphere, and also their effect and how to control the air pollutions. All this topic is seriously we have to understand. So layers of atmosphere systematically arranged with their components are present in each and every altitude. So there are 5 different layers in the earth atmosphere. Each and every layer has their own property and characteristics in the terms of temperature wise and pressure wise. If you consider from the earth surface up to 12 kilometers called as a troposphere, this troposphere plays an important role, which is giving the platform for the living organisms on the earth. And this troposphere contains most of the valuable gas, including oxygen and nitrogen. And this troposphere will have the many components, include cloud formations. There are 3 types of clouds. One is cirrus clouds on the top, then followed by nimbus and cumulus. And rain precipitations also occurring within the troposphere, and very important layer in the earth surface. The next layer in the atmosphere from 12 kilometer to 50 kilometer, little higher layer in the earth atmosphere, that is called as a stratosphere. This stratosphere plays an important role to protect our plant. That is, the ozone layer is present at the height of 50 kilometers from the earth surface. This ozone layer protects the earth surface from the UV radiations which are released from the solar exhaust. So stratosphere and troposphere together is protecting the earth from the UV radiation by the ozone present in the stratosphere, and the troposphere, which is consist of compacting the valuable gas for the nutrient and also breathing and cloud formations and rain precipitation. All the events are happening within the troposphere. And apart from troposphere and stratosphere, one more layer in the top, that is a mesosphere, ranged from the height from 50 kilometers to 80 kilometers. This mesosphere, when temperature is decreased drastically from 0 degree to minus 85 degree, very chill temperature in the mesosphere layer, and only meteoroids can travel within this layer. Then another one important layer, that is thermosphere, the extreme portion of the layer in the earth atmosphere from 80 kilometers to 700 kilometers. The temperature ranges from minus 90 degrees Celsius, less freezing point, into the higher temperature, that is 1500 degrees Celsius. And uppermost atmospheric layer, that is exosphere, situated above the 700 kilometers from the Earth's surface, considered as the extreme layer of the atmosphere, which has the temperature over 2000 degrees Celsius. So the satellite will be moving within the range of thermosphere, and the spacecraft can able to travel the thermosphere, and meteorites are destroyed within the mesosphere, and stratosphere and tropospheres are giving the shield for the earth atmosphere and living organisms in the earth from the harmful UV radiations. So atmosphere as a complete source, it carries the valuable gases, especially in the troposphere, then followed by stratosphere. In the earth atmosphere, nitrogen is 78.08%. The nitrogen is very important for the plants, for the growth and the metabolisms, and oxygen 20.95% is essential for all living organisms for breathing, and argon are 0.93%. Of course, carbon dioxide is 0.04%. So the nitrogen, oxygen and argon, apart from the three gases, carbon dioxide was naturally present 0.04%. If little addition of carbon dioxide within the range of 0.04%, the minimum variation of carbon dioxide or in minimum increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, it causes the drastic changes in the atmosphere and causes the major impact on the Earth's surfaces. So all these atmosphere carries all the composition of gas molecules which serve for the ecosystem on the Earth by blocks the UV radiation and moderates the climate and redistribute the water in the hydrological cycles. These progress are maintained or regulated by the atmospheric layers, particularly in the troposphere and stratosphere. So types of pollution and source of air pollutions. Air pollutions are the chemicals introduced into the atmosphere by natural. The naturally introduced pollutions are managed by other nutrient cycles by the other components present in the Earth's surface, whereas the unwanted chemicals are overloaded into the atmosphere by the anthropogenic activity, the human interventions. This excess load of pollution in the atmosphere seriously changing the atmospheric concentration of gas molecules and changing the progress and the function of the different layers in the atmospheric layer and impacting on the living and non-living organisms on the Earth's surface. So air pollutions are classified into the two categories. One is primary air pollutant, which is certain chemical substances are directly emitted into the atmosphere from the source. For example, automobile emissions from the industrial sector. Secondary air pollutants are derivatives. Derivatives mean the secondary air pollutants are synthesized from the primary air pollutants. For example, sulfur dioxides are released from the industrial activity and also automobile activity. It's a primary air pollutant. The sulfur dioxide is react with another one molecule of oxygen is already present in the atmosphere and produce the sulfate or sulfuric acid, that is called as a secondary air pollutant. So the major air pollutants in the Earth atmosphere, the particulate matter, dust, lead, and sulfuric acids. The particulate matters in the form of dust are released from the automobile engine in the form of burning the fossil fuel in the turbine engine. These dust particles are varies depends on the size. Depend on the size, it has the impact on environmental and also has a health impact on the human being. They are solid particles. They are called as the primary air pollutants. And sulfuric acids are synthesized from the sulfur dioxide emission, is considered as a secondary air pollutant because sulfuric acids are produced from the sulfur dioxide is a primary air pollutant. It became a droplet when the rain formations during the cloud seedings or cloud precipitations. So particulate matter is a major air pollutant in the atmosphere, then followed by nitrogen oxide. Nitrogen oxides is a primary air pollutant, reddish brown in gas. Then sulfur dioxide also is a primary air pollution, colorless gas with a strong odor. And carbon dioxide derivatives, carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, those are inter-exchange. From carbon monoxide is a primary pollutant and converted into the secondary pollutant also, and directly carbon dioxide also will be released in the form of primary pollutant. It's a colorless and odorless gas. Then hydrocarbons, methane and benzenes also as a primary air pollutants. It's a colorless and sometimes liquid when the precipitation is occur. And ozone also is a secondary air pollutant in the troposphere and also is a pale blue gas. Ozone in the stratosphere is a benefit for the earth by preventing the UV penetration on the earth's surface, whereas the same ozone in the troposphere is a harmful for our health, is oxidative agent, will causes the various health effects, example pulmonological issues, eye irritation and throat irritations. And chlorine is a emerging pollutant, is a primary pollutant, and it look like a yellow and green in gas. So all these pollutants are major threat to the atmosphere and also living and non-living into the earth's surface. For understanding the primary air pollutants and what are the different source, and from the primary air pollutants how the secondary air pollutants are formed, and together primary and secondary how it's altering the composition of air in the troposphere as well as in the stratosphere. So CO2 and SO2 are released from the forest fire as well as the automobile emissions and industrial emissions and many anthropogenic activity by human. These anthropogenic activities are releasing the carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide and hydrocarbons and most of the particles, and these primary air pollutants further reacting with the existing gas molecules in the troposphere and converting into the secondary air pollutant, for example nitric acid, peroxides, sulfate, sulfuric acid and soot. In this, volcanic eruptions is contributing the primary air pollutants, is a natural phenomenon. From the volcanic eruptions, large amount of SO2 and CO2 being released, but these volcanic erupted primary air pollutants can be managed by our natural components present in our earth surface by tree cover, green cover and also water bodies. Along with this adjustment, by adding the more burden in the form of pollutant into the atmosphere, mean our earth system also could not able to balance the air pollution management and turning into the negative impact and what we are suffering right now. The major classes of air pollutants as a particulate matter, nitrogen oxides, sulfur oxides, carbon oxides and hydrocarbons and ozones. Particulate matter or material denoted by PM. The many types of particulate matter in the form of solid and liquid particles are suspended in air. So it will be a mixture of solid and liquid particles along with the gas phase and floating on the air, and certain particles are settled down on the surface by gravitational force, but it completely depends on size of the particulate matter. The particulate matter size may ranges from 1 micron up to 100 microns. More than 10 microns particles are settled down on the earth's surface or tree leaves or any surface by gravitational force, and less than 10 micron particles are floating on the air, and this is a non-settleable particles and partially may settle down by gravitation and partially not settle down. And third category of particulate matter, that is PM 2.5. The particles equal to 2.5 micron in size or less than 2.5 micron in size is most dangerous particulate matter in the atmosphere, because its size were could not able to settle down by the gravitational is easily floating on the air. While you breathe, along with your breathable air, it will travel and settle down in your deeper lungs. Similarly, particulate matter at the range of 1 micron in size will be settled down in your deeper lungs and causes the many health issues related to the lung diseases and allergic and asthmatic disease. Apart from the particles, certain particles are toxin and certain particles are non-toxins. The non-toxic particles, the natural sea salt and soot, it is almost non-toxic for the 97% of the human, whereas the toxic substance in the form of particulate matter are released into the atmosphere from the industrial activity or from the vehicular emissions. These might be a carcinogenic. For example, hydrocarbons, polyaromatic hydrocarbons, sulfate aerosol from the sulfuric acid, etc., etc. And nitrogen and sulfur dioxides are the primary air pollutant released from the vehicular emissions, and that is called as a direct emissions, and also through the chemical interaction between the atmospheric nitrogen and oxygen at high temperature, nitrogen oxide also will be produced. The presence of nitrogen dioxide and nitrogen oxides in the atmosphere produce the greenhouse gas effect. Greenhouse gas effect, where the heats are accumulated within the atmosphere, where the earth surface is getting heat and reflected heat is not passed through the our atmosphere and make a global warming, that is called as a greenhouse gases. And acute toxicity of nitrogen oxides are causes the difficulty in breathe, and prolonged exposure of nitrogen oxides is the main source, point source, indoor or outdoor. The person may develop axia, also eye irritations and lungs problem, and finally death may also will occur. Similarly for sulfur dioxide, and sulfur react with the oxygen in the automobile engine. The sulfur and nitrogens are original source of from fossil fuels in the form of petrol or diesel or coal. When the petrol or diesels are burning in the turbine engine or in steam engine, these sulfurs are react with oxygen and produce the sulfur dioxide. And nitrogen oxides accumulations in the atmosphere converted into the nitrate and nitrous oxide and also nitric acid. These nitric acid formations will settle down in the form of acid precipitations called as the acid rain. It will has the impact on plants and humans and also change the pH of the soil. So indirectly, the nitrogen dioxide in the atmosphere causes the soil pollution through the acid precipitation or acid rain as the impact on earth surface by soil pollution. In same way, sulfur dioxide also produced from the industrial and vehicular emissions and contributing into the sulfuric acid productions in the atmosphere and leads to the acid precipitation, sulfuric acid precipitation or acid rain, and affecting the trees and animals and also change the pH of the soil. So along with the nitrogen oxide and sulfur dioxide, carbon oxide and hydrocarbons also contributing the greenhouse gases, and particularly the hydrocarbons, for example methane, which are directly related to the climate change because it's a highly potential to the greenhouse gases. And all these carbon oxides and hydrocarbons are closely related to the photochemical smog and greenhouse gases. Ozone in the troposphere is a valuable layer for the earth atmosphere. It will protect the earth from the UV radiations when the ozone is situated in the stratosphere. If the same ozone are situated in the troposphere mean the ozone is produced within the troposphere layer, it has the negative impact on human as well as the plant. It is considered as a secondary air pollutant by internal conversion of oxygen O2 into the atomic oxygen produce the ozone. This ozone majorly involved into the photochemical smog. Photochemical smog is nothing but the mixture of smoke and air will causes the visibility on the earth surface, and also the photochemical smoke gives the eye irritations on allergic and asthmatic and also causes the bronchitis. The main sources of outdoor air pollution, all these air pollutants, particulate matter, nitrous oxide, sulfur dioxide, and hydrocarbons and ozones are mainly produced by transportation. 50% of the pollutions are contributed by the transportation, then followed by fuel consumptions in the industrial sector about 21%, and industrial process 12%, and remaining are 10%. So 57% of air pollutions are contributed by transportations, form of automobile engine, mass transportation, aircraft, and locomotive pilot, etc., etc. What is the effect of the air pollutants? Particulate matter, it causes the aggressive respiratory illness. A long-term exposure may cause the increased incidence of chronic conditions, bronchitis, and secondly, it is linked into the heart disease. And also the particulate matter will suppress your immune system. These particulate matters somehow are expelled by our immune system by sneezing and coughing. If the particulate matter size are ranged from or equal to 5 micron into the 10 micron. When the particulate matters are enter through your nostril or your respiratory system, our respiratory lumen cell will recognize it, and by creating the sneeze and cough, we are flushing out the particulate in order to save our lungs. Even though the fine particles size ranged from 5 micron, less than 5 micron in size up to 2.5 micron in size, is invading into the deeper throat in the respiratory system and causes the throat infections and irritations. That is, and finally, the less than 2.5 micron size particulate matter, it will settle down in your deeper lungs and started causing the many allergic reactions by suppressing the immune systems. And if the particulate matter are containing the heavy metal or organic chemicals, it may cause the cancer in the lung spot called as a lung cancer, and also other tissue damage. Similarly, nitrogen oxides will gives the irritate of respiratory tract and also causes the chronic bronchitis, the continuous sneezing and coughing, a breathing problem. And if the lungs is not functioning by the presence of nitrogen oxide within your lungs, and causes the insufficient supply of oxygen, the insufficient supply of oxygen which is causes our cells could not able to function properly and leads to the internal organ death. In same way, sulfur dioxide and carbon monoxides are toxic gas and may causes the acute toxicity and also chronic toxicity. It gives the irritate the respiratory tract and reduce the blood stability to transport the oxygen. If the oxygen is not transported properly, we develop the internal organ failure. Then insufficient oxygen contained in the blood, where our brain could not able to function properly, and leads to the headache. And also mental impairments are caused by the presence of carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide in our indoor and outdoor atmosphere. And ozone in the stratosphere is good for the earth, but the same ozone in the troposphere causes the health impact because of the rapid oxidative potential by the ozone. It will damage your cornea, eye irritations, and irritates the respiratory tract, and you will feel the chest comfort and aggravate the respiratory condition like asthma and chronic bronchitis. So dear students, in today classes I just given the overall information about the earth atmosphere, the different layers of earth atmosphere and their height information and temperature variations and the functions and components of different layers of atmosphere and atmospheric composition of gas and their functions and different types of air pollutions and their category based on the primary or secondary air pollutant and the properties and characteristics. Different source of primary and secondary air pollutants from the natural sources or man-made sources, and particulate matter of different size, how it is affecting the health, how it is interrelating into the atmospheric composition and changing the natural phenomena of atmosphere. Similarly, nitrogen dioxide and oxides of nitrogen. Thank you for listening.